Hello and welcome to Nikolai's genetics lessons, and today's problem is, as a part of your graduate studies, you are investigating the inheritance of four color, blue versus golden, and eye color, green, red or yellow, in a rare species of red. The table below shows the results of several different genetic crosses between male and females of this species. Assume that these traits influenced by two different genes, and that for each gene there exist two alleles. And what is interesting right away is that we have here two different genes. We have for each gene two alleles. But for example, for eye color we see three traits: green, red and yellow. How it is possible that two alleles produce three phenotypes? And this is possible if we have here incomplete dominance. So one of the alleles would be incompletely dominant over the other allele, and in this case we would see three genotypes and three phenotypes. For example, take a look. Let's assume that each trait is independent of the other trait, and these genes that control each trait would be on the different chromosomes and would segregate independently. So nothing in this problem is said that these genes are linked and are on the same chromosome. So we can consider each trait independent of other trait. So let's go over the first trait, which is eye color, and we know that it has to be controlled by incompletely dominant allele over another. So we have here incomplete dominance. Let's now assume, for example, that green eyes is dominant trait, so these mice have to be homozygous dominant. And let's assume that red eyes is recessive trait, and genotype would be homozygous recessive. And in a progeny we see that 100% of the progeny has yellow eyes, and of course you can predict that if we cross this genotype with this genotype, 100% of the progeny would be heterozygous and would have different phenotype from parent 1 and parent 2, because this allele incompletely dominant over the recessive allele and would produce third phenotype. So it is clear now. Now let's move to the second example. We have one red with red eyes. We cross with another one with red eyes, and we know that the genotype is homozygous recessive. And of course, if we cross homozygous recessive with homozygous recessive, 100% result of such a cross would be mice that is also going to be homozygous recessive for this trait. Let's now analyze another example. One mice has green eyes, another one has green eyes, and we know that green eyes, it is homozygous dominant genotype. If we cross two genotypes that is both homozygous dominant, of course 100% of the progeny also would have the same eye color and would have the same genotype, capital A here and capital A here. Let's now move to the fourth example. We have one red with red eyes, and we cross with another with yellow eyes. So we know that those reds with red eyes are homozygous recessive. We know that those with yellow eyes are heterozygous, and of course such a cross would result in 50% of the progeny who is going to be heterozygous, so capital A, small a, and would have yellow eyes, and 50% as a result of such a cross would result in red eyes, and this is going to be homozygous recessive genotype. And let me show you example using Punnett Square. So we have one parent who is homozygous recessive and has red eyes. Another parent is heterozygous and has yellow eyes. Now let's build simple Punnett Square and let's see what is the distribution of traits would be in the next generation. So capital A, small a here, capital A, small a here, small a, small a, small a, small a. As you see, 50% as a result of such a cross would have yellow eyes, and 50% would have red colored eyes, just like their parents. And distribution of trait would be, or ratio would be 1 to 1, yellow to red. And this is exactly what we see here. We cross red eye parent with yellow eyed parent, and 50% has yellow eyes and 50% has red eyes. And here is genotypes. Now let's move to the second trait and let's see what we know about this trait. So the table below shows, so as part of your graduate studies, you are investigating the inheritance of four fur color, blue versus golden. So we have a gene with two alleles and we have two phenotypes. So here, unlike in the first example where we see two alleles that produce three phenotypes, here we have two alleles that produce two phenotypes. So basically we have here simple Mendelian genetics where one allele is dominant over the other allele. So basically let's see, in the first cross we see one parent with golden fur, another with blue fur, and in the progeny we also see golden fur. So let's say that this is going to be gene B, and I'm going to use different color. So for the gene B, the parent that has golden fur should be dominant. So capital B for this trait in the first parent, and the parent that has blue fur have to be homozygous recessive. And in the progeny, so golden, blue, and if golden is completely dominant, allele B, which produce golden color, is completely dominant over the recessive allele, then in the progeny we would see that 100% would be heterozygous and would have golden fur, because dominant allele is completely dominant over recessive allele. And heterozygous genotype would be the same phenotypically as homozygous dominant. Now let's see, we cross parent with golden fur and with blue fur, and we have a distribution of trait. 50% has golden fur and 50% has blue fur. So golden fur have to be, in this case, heterozygous, so capital B and small b, and blue fur still have to be homozygous recessive. And if we cross heterozygous with homozygous recessive, we expect that that progeny that has golden fur would be heterozygous for this trait, and that has blue fur would be homozygous recessive. And next line, we have one parent with golden fur, another one with golden fur, and in the progeny we see that 3/4 has golden fur and 1/4 has blue fur. So what we can say? We can say that both parents have to be heterozygous for this trait. So let me show you what we have here. So one parent is heterozygous, so capital B and small b. Another parent also heterozygous, capital B and small b, and has golden fur. So this is going to be phenotype. And when we build simple Punnett square, let's see what we are going to see. So capital B here, capital B, small b here, capital B, small b here, and small b here. 3/4 as a result of such a cross would have golden fur, because dominant allele B completely dominant over the recessive allele B. And 1/4 would have blue fur. So 3:1 ratio. 3:1. And this is what we see here. 3 has 28:9. It is the same as 3:1, the same ratio, 3:1. Or we also can say that 3/4 would have golden fur and 1/4 would have blue fur. But here you have to be careful. What is the genotype have to be? Some of you may put heterozygous genotype for the gene B, but actually you see some can be homozygous dominant and some can be heterozygous. So what we are going to put here, we are going to put capital B and blank space. So it can be homozygous dominant or heterozygous, and still we would see golden fur. And as for the genotype have to be homozygous recessive here. Now let's analyze the last example. We cross red with blue fur and blue fur, and in the progeny we see also blue fur, and that means that it have to be homozygous recessive here, homozygous recessive here, and we don't need a Punnett square. Of course, such a cross only can produce homozygous recessive and only blue fur in this litter. So as you see, we gave all the genotypes, we explain all the crosses and result of such crosses that we see here. And this is all for today. Thank you for your attention. Please subscribe for my new videos that I post almost every day. Thumbs up if you like this video. Please write your comments, questions if you have any. Share this video with your classmates, and see you in the next video. Goodbye.